go.
What's poppin', PBO people? I'm back. It's the Analyst Kazams. Week 4 pick'ems. Or this is week 5 pick'ems now, right?
Yeah, we're
Alright,
getting
yeah,
a little
week
ahead of
5.
yourself.
Whoa, week 5 pick 'em, sorry, y'all.
Week 5 pick'ems. We're popping in. I'm here with the Vancouver Valiants once again.
Yes.
And we're popping right into it. Oh, right off the bat, it's the Vancouver Valiants versus the Pittsburgh Scissors. Let's go. Scissors 0-4 now, but big team change. That's cool. Vancouver Valiants got a win last week against Mug, so that's good. Looking at this matchup, the first thing that comes to mind, Great Tusk absolutely annihilates this guy. You know, there's no real ground resists at all. And also, he has Torkoal who puts up the sun, and the sun helps Great Tusk. So it's really like worst case scenario. It's a ground that also benefits from sun. So it's kind of like worst case scenario for Scissors in that sense. I will say, Venusaur. Venusaur Terra edition under sun could be problematic. There's not a great switch in on Vancouver's side. Not a great switch in at all.
Yeah, either of the Terras probably.
Yeah, I think it would be fire for the Revavroom, because Revavroom's the only thing that resists both the stabs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like fire with Weather Ball plus growth.
Yeah, I was gonna say it gets Weather Ball, right?
Yeah, fire with Weather Ball plus growth plus Sludge Bomb or Sludge Wave. I think it only gets, I don't know which one it gets. And then plus Grasp coverage. It actually kind of owns you, huh? Like you have actually no way of dealing with it.
Yeah,
So
we'll have to figure that out.
That's a tough scene. Greninja is pretty good, but the sun can go up, and then that would be problematic, obviously. But outside of sun, Greninja's pretty good.
Cerulege could take advantage of sun too with Bitter Blade.
Yeah, Bitter Blades are going to be strong. You know, the gouging switch-ins aren't great on Vancouver's side either. It's really going to come down to Great Tusk a lot, I think. I think Great Tusk is huge this game. Matters a lot. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I think Metagross doesn't have the greatest matchup, considering Great Tusk, considering Greninja, considering Cerulege. So if Metagross doesn't end up coming, then maybe that could open up Enamorus a little bit. Although again, Torkoal and Venusaur are still there to resist like the Moonblasts. But I think Enamorus could potentially have some line here to do something really good. I think the it's an interesting game for sure. I do lean slightly in Vancouver's favor just because Great Tusk has such a good matchup. I do think Venusaur also has a good matchup, but it requires a little bit more effort to really get going. I think like Torn T, I don't know if Torn T is going to have the best game ever. There aren't like an amazing flying resist, but there's still a Lantern. So that could be kind of annoying to deal with. I think Hydrapple probably has a pretty poor matchup this week, considering Venusaur, considering gouging, considering Torn. Maybe it could do like some Draco shenanigans, considering the fairy is Mimikyu. But I don't know if that's the best idea. Perhaps Weezing Galar could do something this week. Maybe deal with the Gouging Fire, because Gouging Fire does look kind of problematic without a dedicated physical wall. That could be Weezing Galar. But yeah, I think I'm leaning like 65-35 in favor of Valiants. What do you think, Valiants?
I say my history with Scissors is that I've had a lot of matchups where I should have won and didn't win. So I'll say like 70-30 just to try to be confident in myself, but I'll at least leave it like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'll be an interesting one.
Yep.
All right, we can move on to the next game.
This
and,
one.
Also, Vancouver or Pittsburgh might bring Mudsdale to try and deal with
Great Tusk.
because
Yeah,
he's
that would
got to
make
find
sense.
a way. All right, move on from one sun to the next. This game's kind of fun, huh?
It was
I
your
think-
first time using like Sun and PBO, right? Like any
Yeah,
kind
this
of
is my
weather,
first time
really?
using Sun. So I'm 0-4 because I inherited an 0-4 team. I think the chances of me making playoffs, because like even the Oranges last season, they inherited an 0-3 team, and the way they made playoffs is even if their differential was bad, they just won every game. So 5-3 gets you in the playoffs. I'm like 0-4 minus 15. It's very difficult, almost impossible to get into
Yeah.
playoffs.
You'd have to get like
I have to win, and I have to win massive, and I am depending
Yeah.
on my opponents to like. I'm depending on like the field has to go my way as well, like because 4-4 isn't guaranteed playoffs. It's like if you have a good differential, you get playoffs.
yeah.
So I
So,
need
yeah.
I need the field to like turn a specific way as well. It's very difficult for me to make playoffs. So I don't know how much effort I'm necessarily going to be putting into this. I have kind of like looked at the matchup. I think it's an interesting one. Iron Bundle is always a really scary Pokemon, and I really my team doesn't like Landorus at all either. Landorus is very problematic, very difficult to deal with. Suicune could also be really annoying, but Clodsire could potentially be Water Absorb, so the Suicune has to run like another move other than the Water move. It can't just be solo Water. Raging Bolt is a scary Pokemon, but Landorus is here. But still, you know, there's no Fairy type, so like Draco is pretty free from Raging Bolt. He has to go for like Terra Fairy Meloetta, which could be interesting, but I feel like there's some counterplay that I could potentially have there. I think Shiftry could do something, especially if I like Terra Dark it maybe to get some more damage output going on. And I think Iron Crown could also have into this double fighting. I think Iron Crown could have a really interesting matchup. Could do something fun here. Slitherwing, I'm excited to try it out. I don't know if it's the best week for it though, because Landorus is here. Landorus is pretty devastating for Slitherwing. Same with like Conk. Conk does pretty good against Slitherwing. And obviously Delphox is also not the greatest Pokemon for Slitherwing to deal with either. But it's an interesting matchup. I'll bet on myself and I'll go 55-45 in my favor. But I don't know how much I'm going to be trying on this game.
Yeah, I'll say I guess depending on the effort, I'll just say 50-50 just to see how your first match goes because it's the first time you've used this team, so we'll see how it is.
Yeah.
Hmm. Right. I think we can move on to the next one.
All right.
Loki's.
This one's about kind of two titans. The Caterpies beating the Frederick Klefkis, really proving their worth, showing how good they can be, showing how good their team is. And the Lopunnies losing last week, but both losses have been, you know, kind of in part because of luck. I do feel like at the end of that game, the Lopunnies kind of like found a way to lose by tricking the Scarf to the Dunsparce. She kind of like found the perfect way to lose the game, pretty much. I think looking at this matchup, there's some really interesting Pokemon to look at. First of all, I think Porygon 2 is pretty interesting. It could be like a Polt answer, kinda. It can be like a Darkrai answer a little bit. I think Clefable, if it has like Flamethrower plus the Steel Berry, that could be very interesting. Plus like T-Volt for Volcanion maybe, and then Moonblast, so it can hit Hawlucha and Dragapult and Darkrai. You know, this team's actually kind of weak to a Fairy in like some important places, the Caterpies team. So I feel like Clefable is going to be really key this match. Azumarill is also a Fairy type, but it gets like really hard. Not like you could be Belly Drum knockoff, I guess, but it gets kind of hard stuck by Volcanion. I think Volcanion's pretty key this match with its Hydro Steam coverage plus the fire coverage. I think all that's pretty good, and the Sludge Bombs or the Sludge Waves for the Clefable. All that's pretty important as well. Sandy Shocks, I think, has a pretty poor matchup here. I think Latios really takes advantage of Sandy Shocks, and I think Kilowatt-Trell also takes advantage of Sandy Shocks because it's immune to both of its stabs. So you have to predict with Power Gem. I don't know how much Power Gem's going to be doing, and like Porygon 2, if it's Spadef, which I think it's going to be a Spadef Porygon 2, would also take advantage of Sandy Shock. So all you can really do is volt. If all you're doing is volting at that point, like, are you really doing anything? Blaziken, I think, could secretly be dangerous if it starts getting its speed boosts off. You know, it deals with Darkrai. If it has knockoff, it can hit Pull. It deals with Scizor, obviously. Again, another Pokemon Volcanion's going to have to be healthy for to deal with. I think Latios is pretty scary because the Draco switch-in is Comfey. Comfey doesn't want to take a Luster Purge. Scizor isn't like a real Draco switch-in. It can't take it. I'm sorry. People who use Scizor defensively are coping a little bit. It'll do like 60 if it's specs, and if it's not specs, it'll do like 45 or 40. I think Avalugg might be important this match, just to keep hazards off, maybe deal with Glastrier, although you might struggle to do any damage to Glastrier and it could Swords Dance on you, so I don't know if Avalugg has any way of phasing out the Glastrier. I think like Darkrai is really strong this match. Lopunny doesn't have like a super great Darkrai switch in if it has the poison coverage on it, which it should. So that could be really, really problematic for her, you know, to switch into the Dark Pulses and the poison moves. The poison moves could be caught one time. I mean, we kind of saw it in your match against Lopunny's. Your Dark type was what ended up winning you the game. I think like Darkrai could fill a similar role in this game.
Yeah, do what Greninja did.
Yeah, because the Dark plus Poison coverage is just really nice into Lopunny's. I am going to lean Lopunny's, I think, 60-40. I like her ingenuity. I think the team has like a pretty good matchup. I think Caterpies has to come up with something... like, he has win cons. I think the game's winnable, but I think it's more difficult for him. So I'm going to lean Lopunny's, 60-40.
Yeah. I think that's a good percentage to put it at. I know that Caterpies has he's been really good in these past few weeks. Obviously the win against Klefki's is huge. And I could definitely see him being like a good like underdog in this matchup. I like the Darkrai. Scizor is kind like, besides like Darkrai with like poison coverage, Scizor is kind of his main way to deal with like Clef if it like, I don't know if it wants to like set up or just be like what it has been, like a supporty like defensive mon in the past. Has she used it as like a offensive yet at all? Do you know?
No, which one?
The Clefable.
Yeah, she used Cosmic Power, Stored Power, Dig.
Okay, that like a weird type of setup, but not like the normal one. But I see what you mean. You know, that I mean, Glastrier could be an issue just depending on like what it wants to tear into. Probably electric if she uses that or Watch Rail. I think at least Terra Captain wise, Lopunny's got a little bit more of an advantage in this matchup.
I think Glastrier might be Ghost to deal with Hawlucha.
Yeah, that could be. That would make sense too. Yeah. So I think in the end, I'll probably lean like 45-55. I think in Lopunny's. I think that's what you said too. But I would go with that probably.
Yeah. All right. We can move on to the next game. Another new team. You guys noticed we have a whole bunch of team switch ups, and there's a switch up on Lion City's side as well. So these are like basically two brand new teams we're looking at. Everything's switching up on us, so to speak. The New Orleans Swamperts taking over from Metal and the Tennessee Tyrannotars, who had to leave mid-season, unfortunately. A little bit of team swaps. We got a Terra Petch now, which I approve of. So looking at the teams, Weavile is the first thing that stands out to me. Weavile beats Golden Go, as long as it's not Colbur, so maybe you want Colbur on your Golden Go Line City. Weavile beats Blood Moon. Weavile beats Gardevoir, as long as it's not Scarf. Weavile beats Noivern. Weavile beats Jumpluff. So like a whole bunch of Pokemon Weavile beats. You need like defensive Arcanine, I think, maybe Rocky Helmet. That could be good. And that could also deal with like a Scarf Jirachi set as well. I don't think you should make I think that's better than making your Quick Quavel defensive. I've seen that before. I think it's like a really bad use of Quick Quavel to try and do that. But Quavo in general has a pretty rough matchup this against, just because it's not Terra, like I've seen in like other leagues. So that means Petrarunt does effectively wall it, and if Petrarunt effectively walls it, it also can like toxic it. I think like toxic Petrarunt's pretty good this match because your steel type is also a ghost type, and that means it's weak to ghost, so it can catch the steel type switch in and do big damage with its ghost move. And it can like toxic everything else, which is really problematic. Probably Glamora would be the answer, so your Glamora is going to need Sludge Wave because this is going to be a Terra Fairy Petrarunt, probably. Let's see, what else? Terapagos. The Golden Go is here. That's like one of the better Terapagos answers, but you can Earth Power it. So I feel like maybe just the Calm Mind Terapagos, Calm Mind Earth Power Starstorm actually does look pretty good. Just the standard Terapagos set. Lion City actually doesn't have a super great matchup into that in any capacity, now that I'm looking at it. And you have Rapid Spin to get rid of all of the Glamora hazards as well, so you could set up on Glamora. So maybe this Glamora will run like Toxic to try and deal with that Terapagos, because if not, it's going to actually be a really problematic situation. Obviously, the Ursaluna Blood Moon has no real switch in. Like, Terapagos could take one hit, but you really don't want it to. Jirachi could potentially get Earth Powered. Maybe Dragonite. You could bring Dragonite out and then Roost. That might be what Swamperts does, is they bring Dragonite out. It's like a Spadef Dragonite. Or not, it probably doesn't need to be Spadef, and then you just Roost to get the multi-scale back after he goes for Blood Moon. And it kind of becomes a situation where you like try and get the multi-scale back multiple times so that he can't like fully kill you. That could be like a good situation, I think. The low kicks with its first impressions. The first impressions are going to get absolutely swallowed by Petrarunt, and if the Petrarunt Terra Fairies, I don't think low kicks can actually hit it. So that's going to be a really awkward position to be in, because I think that's your main Terra captain.
Low kicks doesn't get any poison, does it?
I'm pretty sure it does not get poison jab.
Yeah, I don't know if it got any coverage to like hit a fairy type at all.
So maybe your Terra Electric Vikavolt with Energy Ball instead. That could be good, because there's no switch into electric coverage. There's no resist that also resists grass. And the one that's immune is times 4 weak to grass. So I feel like that could put on a lot of pressure, like a Terra Electric Vikavolt. I don't know if this is Low-Kick's best week to shine, necessarily.
Yeah, no, it does not get any fairy coverage to hit anything. Like no steel or poison.
Yeah, so once Petrarunt fairies, it's kind of Jover for low kicks. I mean, it does have tinted lens, so maybe, but the Petrarunt's so fat physically. I don't know if it'll matter. I'd have to look at the calcs. But, Petrarunt's good this match, Weavile's good this match, Terapagos is good this match. And on Lion City side, I think Golden Go is pretty good, because, like, the switch-in is, or, I guess Terapagos is here, right? You can't really deal with Terapagos if you're Golden Go. I guess maybe you have to be Trick. Blood Moon's pretty good, but it's not, like, amazing. And Vikavolt's pretty good, but it's not, like, outstanding. I think, like, all the higher tiers are better that are on Swampert's side. I'm gonna go, like, 65-35 in Swampert's favor. I think this is a game that's looking pretty good for them. I didn't even mention Wellspring. Wellspring, there's no, like, great switch into the Ivy Cudgel. You have to bring Jump Luff. You have to bring Jump Luff to deal with Ivy Cudgel and the grass coverage.
Yeah, I think Ogerpon kind of just like clicks buttons this match.
Ogerpon can just click the button. I guess Noivern, like defensive Noivern, that could be a decent switch in. So it'd have to have Play Rough. Like, it would have to be Play Rough Ogerpon, which it easily could be. It easily could be like Ivy Cudgel, Grass Move, Play Rough, and then final move Swords Dance. I don't know if you need Trailblaze, because like who are you trying to outspeed? You're trying to outspeed Noivern.
I do feel like Ogerpon sometimes too. Whenever I've tried to use it in the past, it has like a 5 move syndrome where it's like it'd be really nice if it had 5 slots, but you really can't fit like another move on there. So
yeah, because it needs a lot of coverage and it needs Swords Dance and Trailblaze to like fully sweep. But I don't know if you need to fully sweep. I think if you just have Play Rough and Swords Dance, you can try and catch the Noivern. So I'm gonna go 65-35 in Swampert's favor.
I would probably say, just looking at the matchup, I don't know what kind of player Swampert's is because they're new. Is it one of like Orange's friends, or is it just
no.
like, is someone else?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, newcomer with a brand new team. I'll go 55-45 in Swampert's favor, just based on the. I like the matchup for as far as like the Pokemon in his team might have a little bit better matchup than Leech Life's does. That's what I would say. Is there another one? There's one more.
Alright, we got the Sawdust Chimps versus the Crown Point Titans. Here is an interesting matchup. The Sawdust Chimps, the only 4-0 team remaining, I believe, in the Stargazer division. Looking at the matchup immediately, Kiram kind of owns this guy, huh? Kiram is really, really problematic this game. Freeze Dry is really free, and the only switch in is Registeel. Maybe we're going to get Assault Vest Titan. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an Assault Vest Titan to deal.
Or Assault Vest Hands, too. That could work.
Yeah, Assault Vest Hands could also help with Kiram, because I think Freeze Dry is going to be really problematic. Freeze Dry plus Earth Power. That's going to be a really goobed situation for sure. Ursaluna, regular edition. I think that's a Hoopa Unbound. I don't know if that's last week or this week, but I'm pretty sure that's a Hoopa Unbound.
For what?
Ursaluna on the Crown Point Titans team.
I thought Mug had Hoopa Unbound.
Mug dropped Hoopa Unbound. And then
he did? Oh. Okay.
Oh, did Crown Point pick it up?
I believe so.
Crown Point, Crown Point, Crown Point.
Yeah, Crown Point. I'm using my last FIA and Terra trades. Bye-bye Ursaluna. I want Hoopa as Terra Captain, dropping both Terra Caps to Terra Fairy.
Oh, let me check that in the doc. Maybe just didn't transfer over when Raven did it. But yeah,
I think it's not in the doc. I think he still says Ursaluna.
Oh boy. Okay, I'll change
and
that.
I'm assuming...
Yeah, there's a lot of transactions that happened over this.
Yeah, this was a crazy transaction week.
You know, Sunnyside just blew up her team.
A lot of teams blew up.
I don't know if it's Hoopa Unbound. I'm assuming so because...
Oh wait, when did they submit that?
Yesterday at 12:56 a.m.
The Hoopa thing?
Yeah.
No, 2 days ago, which was a Monday. So yeah, it doesn't go until next week.
Alright, so he still has Ursaluna for this week?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, Ursaluna is good this match. There's not, like, great switch-ins. I guess Decidueye before it Terras. So you're going to have Fire Punch on your Ursaluna and get it right. Or Crunch. Crunch would also be, pretty good. But, same way Ursaluna always works. If you get a Trick Room up, or if you predict the turn right, it just kind of gets kills. There's really, like, no way of dealing with it super well. I think, like, the Dunsparce could do some interesting stuff this match. In terms of, like, spamming, like, Coil. I kind of like Coil the Dunsparce this game. I feel like that could be really problematic for Crown Point to deal with. Because, like, they have Registeel now, and Registeel is, like, really passive and not very good. And, it just sits there and doesn't actually, like, do anything. So that's, a really unfortunate situation for them. Glowking is, like, okay this match, but, like, Excadrill's here. So, Alomomola is going to come for Excadrill, I assume, and that's fine. But I don't know if you want Alomomola coming in on, like, if he Sword Stances. I bet EQ 2 KOs. Mandibuzz is here too, so that's, like, an interesting situation. I don't know. I think Hands has a good matchup here. Like, Hands deals with, it deals with Kiram. It can probably, like, take one Earthquake from Excadrill and hit it back. It can kill Tornadus, it can kill Slowking, it can kill Tentacruel. Pre-Terra, it can kill the Dunsparce. If it has Earthquake, it can kind of deal with Boulder, but Boulder can kill it with like the Zen Headbutt probably. So again, the answer becomes like Decidueye. So Decidueye has like a really important defensive role. Like maybe it'll be a max defense Roost Decidueye this week to deal with Iron Hands and Ursaluna. Because otherwise that Pokemon's really, really problematic. Bramblegast has a okay matchup, I feel. I'm assuming one of these guys is going to not have an item. And there's obviously the Dunsparce to be immune. So like maybe the Dunsparce could set up on Bramblegast. I don't know if Bramblegast is going to try and Leech Seed stuff. Like I could imagine it's going to be no item Decidueye, just defensive, and then Bramblegast gets like absolutely just rolled. It doesn't actually do anything to it. So it would have to like click Shadow Sneak because Poltergeist would do no damage. Yeah, I like that. No item Decidueye. That could be pretty good. And no item like Giga Drain Shadow Ball. Gets walled by Mandibuzz, so maybe that would be the switch in from Crown Points to Titans. And then Decidueye would have to U-turn out to Kyurem, maybe. And then the Mandibuzz would have to U-turn again to not lose momentum to Kyurem, because anytime Kyurem gets out for free on Mandibuzz, it's just a really tough situation for Crown Point to be in. It's not as...
Oh, I was gonna say, even like Iron Boulder doesn't really have a great matchup here either.
Well, yeah, Iron Boulder has a tough matchup a lot because it's bad.
Yeah, because it's bad. Its typing is terrible.
Yeah, it's gonna get goobed by Aloe, so you just gotta figure out a way to deal with that. Like Aloe is gonna goob Boulder and it's gonna goob Excadrill, so they both have to like set up Sword Stances to try and break through it, or you have to deal with Aloe with like your Kyurem. Otherwise, Aloe's just gonna sit around for a long time. It'd be super fat. Or you could be like Nasty Plot Tornadus to try and deal with Aloe, which is another option. I imagine this could be like a Heat Wave Tornadus with a Nasty Plot and Hurricane, and that could put on pressure, but you know, Diancie is still here. Speaking of Diancie, looking at its matchup, you know, Terra fighting... The only issue with Terra fighting is then you can weak to the Tornadus. The Tornadus he brings every week, so I don't know if I'd recommend that, because I actually do like the Terra fighting body press set for everything but Tornadus. But because Tornadus is here, maybe you have to Terra Steel. It'd be like Iron Defense, Calm Mind. I feel like Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Draining Kiss, Body Press could be good. Like, I could see that sweeping, for sure, 1000%. I actually do like that set a lot. Yeah. The more I think about it, I think that set's quite good. And you have, like, max, or, like, it's probably mixed, but a lot more Spadef, just because Calm Mind boosts less than, the other... Calm Mind boosts less immediately than Iron Defense does. And then you can, like, set up on, the Dunsparce, or you could set up on, Slowking, or like Grimmsnarl, or if the Decidueye really is defensive and passive, like I think it needs to be, you could set up on that too. I feel like there's a good amount of setup opportunities for Diancie here, and I feel like I think that should actually be your win con, as a setup Diancie. I would bring Ursaluna for breaking shit. I would bring Iron Hands, like AV, to just sit there and break shit. I'm working my way into thinking Crown Points of Titans has a good matchup. But I do think Kyurem is really good on Sada's side, and I think, like, the Dunsparce is secretly good. Like, it can secretly do something here that...
Demon is evil.
Yeah, I think a setup to Dunsparce could be very problematic for Crown Points to try and deal with. Whether that's, like, a Boom Burst set with Earth Power. I think Boom Burst Earth Power actually could be just really good. Maybe Toxic Glowking, just to deal with, like, potential setup shenanigans from him. Not T-Spikes, because Tentacruel will just come in, and it can also Rapid Spin away hazards, but like actual toxic.
Actual toxic, yeah.
Actual physical toxic. Registeel's probably going to come to this game to try and deal with Kyurem. I just think Registeel's a bad Pokemon, man, so it's tough. It's tough to think about it coming.
Especially if it's not like Terra too, it's like could have some use, but he's just normal Registeel.
Regular Tornadus, like, it can be nasty plot. If this Glowking is Spadef, it's just going to be able to stay in, man. You have to get the +4.
What's the regular Tornadus ability?
Prankster.
Oh, they both. That's right. I thought Thunderous was the only one that got it, so they both.
No, they both have Prankster.
Okay.
I do think like Decidueye is a good defensive answer to some of Crown Point's, but I do think Crown Point has a good line here. I'll go 55-45 in favor of Sada's Chimps, I think. What do you think, Vancouver? I'm very unsure.
Yeah. I've thought about, like, I'm trying to look at, like, Hisui and Zoroark. I always like to look at it every week to see if someone can finally pull off like some illusion shenanigans and just win a match just because like they used Zoroark to outplay their opponent. I don't really see that happening this week because there's not really many like things that Zoroark's immune to. There's only like one normal type, doesn't have a fighting type, and I don't really see him bringing normal and or fighting coverage. I guess Ghost with Decidueye, that's really the only thing. And he could fake like Slowking or Brambleghast maybe into the Decidueye to try to get it, but other than that, so Titan's got a pretty bulky team regardless. Regenerator Core can deal with a lot of things. Maybe even if the Dunsparce tries to set up, I'm sure Aloe and Slowking can Toxic or burn it to maybe like help a little bit. Overall, I do think, like you said earlier, Kyurem does just kind of go crazy. Like even just like, I think Kyurem, besides like Zoroark, is just kind of faster than his entire team. So I could see him just doing like a Specs Kyurem.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Is Specs because he's so much. The opponent's team is so slow. He can just be Specs for free.
Yeah, no, there's not really much that he can do, especially if.
Which
even if he is,
think it needs to be like AV to Titan.
Yeah, even if it's, and the thing is, even if it is AV to Titan or Iron Hands or both, he just brings both of them. I mean, he's got Sada's Chimps has like 4 mons that can like use knockoff too to like just get rid of it. So we'll have to see how it goes. I'll probably lead like 65-35 in Sada's Chimp's favor.
All right. With that, we can move on to the next game. Game of the week. Two Titans. The Frederick Klefkes versus the Abbotsford Agrons. This is a really interesting one. So here's what I'm thinking. Garchomp looks really, really good. Like outstandingly good. Because the fairy is weak to ground. You can kind of just spam your dragon move, and then you can spam ground. And the Arboliva has to like be the Arboliva needs to be fairy, and it needs to be Terra, and it needs to be grassy terrain or whatever, grassy surge.
Yeah, Agrons doesn't have any ground immunities at all.
No, so Garchomp looks really, really scary, really problematic. On the side of Aggron, Sneasler looks like okay. But there is like Gowing's Talonflame for like last-ditch efforts, and Quillfish with Intimidate also resists both the stabs, so that's like a really unfortunate thing. Iron Valiant. There's Pheasantipity here. That's a pretty good Iron Valiant answer. Probably one of the better ones. You would need to run like a Psychic coverage in order to deal with it. So maybe if he's gonna run Psychic coverage, he could bring like Psy Shock, because Pheasantipity is typically more Spadef than defensive. Zarude this time around, I could see any manner of Zarude. I think Scarf could be good with knockoff on U-turn to do with Spectrier and Samurott, and you can also knock off the Heatran. You would probably have to be poisoned so that you can't get instant first impressioned by a Trapinch coming in and trapping you if you get into that kind of situation. I think Espeon probably doesn't have the greatest matchup, I imagine. I mean, it could try its like shenanigans, its setup stuff. I don't know if it would necessarily work here. Especially with like Empoleon. You would need a lot of setup to like get through the Empoleon. Heatran can just fire off like Magma Storms with no real opposition. It would have to be like Talonflame if you want to take it well and be able to recover the HP. Magma Storm's just really annoying in draft play for opponents because it deals true damage. So it like if something comes out that can't take it or that can't recover HP, it just instantly chips them, and it's like forever chip unless they have recovery. Maybe it'll be like water or water belly bolt to try and deal with that situation. Exactly, I could see that happening a lot. DOS has a decent matchup as well. You know, it outspeeds and kills Sneasler. It probably outspeeds and it does a lot to Spectre with Shadow Ball if it has like a special attack boosting nature or whatever. Heatran again can probably like take the fighting coverage just because it's so fat, but it would still do a decent chunk at least. With DOS, I think this is an interesting game because I think Spectre also actually has a pretty good matchup if Zarude is like weakened or whittled. Maybe like it's gonna be a max spit F belly bolt to try and deal with Spectre because Spectre is gonna be really problematic because Indeedee isn't like a super great normal type. So like the Shadow Balls are gonna be like really, really dangerous for Klefki's to try and switch in on. Klefki's also has to contend with like the hazards from Samurott, right? So Samurott's gonna be able to like ceaseless edge stuff, whether that's Quillfish or like Empoleon, like these passive guys, he can ceaseless edge them and get all his hazard stacks up, and the only removal that Klefki's can do is Talonflame defog. I think Talonflame might have to come to deal with Heatran and to defog away hazards. Otherwise, these hazards are going to get really problematic for Klefki's, and he's going to have to deal with that situation. Because I don't know if you want to bring Cryogonal in this match necessarily, especially with Heatran there. Letting Heatran in for free could be really dangerous. I don't know if setup is ever going to work for Klefki's because Quag is there, although I don't know if Quag necessarily wants to come because Zarude is the main Terra Captain, and Zarude could threaten it very easily and come in on it as well. I think I'm going to lean, just because I think Garchomp also has such a nasty matchup here. I think Garchomp's a really threatening ground type, and it's really good here, especially if Quag doesn't come, and I don't know if Quag wants to come with the threat of Zarude. I'm going to lean Klefki's 60-40, but I could see a line where, like, Spectre wins in an endgame if, like, DOS is dead early and Samurott got all its hazards up, either on, like, one of the waters or, like, it was lead DOS versus Samurott or something like that situation. I could see a world easily where Garchomp spirals and gets, like, 4 kills at the end. What do you think, Vancouver?
Yeah, hold on. Sorry. All right. No, I just got distracted for a second. No, I after looking at the matchup while you're talking a little bit, I think Klefki's Joe's just have his team just has a little bit better matchup. I know Agrons has Fezzidipity to deal with Iron Valiant. I think Dio Speed is very important to Klefki's this match. So we'll have to see how he plays around it. Garchomp is always scary. And I could definitely see Zarude being this Terra Captain this week for sure. Let me see with the. It's not really any priority type of stuff. He's probably not going to bring in DD. I could see him bringing Cryogonal too for being like freeze dry for Quagsire, Samurai, and also to be a Spadef. It could be like a Spadef wall for like Spectre 2's like type of switch in because it's got pretty high Spadef as well. Overall, and looking at Agron's team a little bit more too, Heatran doesn't have a great matchup because of Garchomp and Valiant.
I think Heatran has a very good matchup this match.
Oh, it does? Okay, maybe I'm not looking at it correctly.
I think Heatran offensively, defensively not. offensively, I think the fire switch-ins are very limited. Especially if Cryogonal comes. If Cryogonal comes and Heatran gets to come in on Cryogonal every time and click Magma Storm, Klefki's is going to have a very hard time switching into that, especially if Talonflame doesn't come. He has nothing to really take the fire moves, because Quillfish is going to be taking like permanent chip, and it's going to do a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. Alright, I think I'll lean 55-45 in Klefki's favor, I think, after thinking about it.
Yep.
Because I think
it's going
that
to be close.
it's going to be close. I think Klefki's has a slight edge, but other than that, I think it's going to be a good match for sure. That's why it's game of the week, of course.
Yep. All right. Is that the last one?
It's the last one.
All right.
All right.
See y'all next week.
Peace.
All right.
Run it up.